We have another thing a little different here. Trying to innovate some stuff, keep things interesting for you all. And we are doing a multiplayer battle between myself and Rainy Frog, but it's a bit of acting. Huzzah! Because I want to see how would some of the matchups in the lore fare in our dear Total War game. How would the dwarves of Karak Azul fare against the hordes of Queek Headtaker from his book Headtaker? I'll tell you what actually happened in the battle afterwards, and we'll see how it compares. But for now, this is Queek's book-accurate army that fought this battle. A front line of Skaven slaves backed up by a secondary line of clan rats, and followed up with triple gold chevron, storm vermin, sword, and shield, Queek's own elite trained guard. We have a chieftain on Bonebreaker that's representing Ska Bloodtail, 1 unit of Death Runners, 3 rat ogres from Clan Mulder, and a warp fire thrower team from Clan Scryer, with Fizzquick, the warlock engineer who commands them. On the other side for the dwarves, again, this is the army they had in the book. 2 cannons, a backline of Thunderers and Quarrelers, 2 Thunderers, 3 Quarrelers. Hammerers protecting the Lord, King Cazador, though Cazador was on his own, he was mounted on some shield bearers, which you can't have in Total War. Then we have a Thane, he did have a Thane on the battlefield, a front line of Dwarf Warriors, some with great weapons, some without, and then with backing up Longbeards for reinforcements in the army. And Cazador is going to sit in the back with his Hammerer crew and observe. So the front line of Skaven do plow straight into the stalwart dwarves underneath Karak Azul. But the thin map will help us out quite a lot, as it also did in the book. The Skaven slammed into the front line and couldn't really get anywhere. The dwarves just held behind their Thane. And Queek's going to have to get something done. He's going to have to get involved somewhere. Now the Storm Vermin with their triple gold chevrons do a 48 melee attack, 53 melee defense. Pretty impressive, but without armor-piercing weapon strength, they might have a hard time getting through these dwarves. The cannons, in the meantime, are firing at Queek and some of the rat ogres, who are taking a lot of damage, not quite able to get through that front line, and all the while their delayed Thunderers and Quarrelers are making their life a living hell. Warp Lightning is rattling out onto the Thunderers. And some of you might note, I should say this, some of you might note that in the book you're like, wait, Queek had a team of Warplock Jezzails. I noticed that. I told Rainy Frog I forgot it. We replayed it, but this replay was actually better, so we stuck with this one. But I did note it, so yeah, there should be 1 less Rat Ogre, and there should be a Jezzail on the high ground. Deathrunners have not quite joined the fight yet. Their elite armor-piercing anti-infantry stats could help quite a lot in the struggle, but already the Skaven have taken pretty significant damage. In the back, Trophy Heads has popped onto the Lord, but that's before Cazador is even in combat, so he didn't need it, and Rat Ogres are getting routed off by the very Thunderers they were trying to obstruct. Warp Fire Throwers will hit Dwarf Warriors on the high ground as these dwarves try and charge downhill. They're going to get murked by the Warp Fire Throwers, who are doing surprisingly little damage. Warp Fire Throwers just feel terrible. It is what it is. Ska Bloodtail is apparently trying to remedy this situation, disrupting both Quarrelers and Thunderers at the same time, but Cazador is after him, along with the Hammerers, and Ska will not last very long, especially with a cannon not currently having attack orders, so it is just going to fire at the closest thing to it, and that is, unfortunately, Ska. The Death Runners are here, though, and the Death Runners will cleave through dwarves quite quickly, especially low melee defense Quarrelers. Queek is piled through the front line. He's now trying to find a home. Looks like he's going to dive on some Thunderers, and cannons are also shooting at him a bit. Ska has been pushed back. He's going to route with the side of the cavern right here. He will go right off the map, and that is a huge loss for the Skaven. Skaven are down to the balance of power, and I do have to agree. Warp Fire Throwers getting caught in Dwarf Warriors. They'll die rather quickly as Fizzquick tries to defend his little weapons team. Death Runners moved on to another set of Quarrelers. They almost killed this one, but decided to just keep on trucking along. And Queek abandons these Thunderers, trying to get away from Cazador and the Hammerers, and instead get to these Quarrelers down here, who are firing into Storm Vermin. And while they hold admirably, they're really not killing very quickly at all. They're just fighting Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. And Skaven are in disarray. Can the Death Runners carry? Can Queek carry? As Cazador is looking to 1v1 him. Go, Cazador, go! Queek's Warp Shard armor is applied, giving these guys less armor and melee defense. Another Warp Lightning hits the front line, doing a lot of damage to those Longbeards. On the other side, the other Storm Vermin Sword and Shield is also doing their best. The Silver Horn of Vengeance is popped. I just put that one on because I had a little extra gold, and it seemed like a thing dwarves would want versus Skaven, even though it's not a very good item. Alright, Queek's getting to fight the Lord. Trophy Heads is counteracting Stand Your Ground. Queek's popped a lot of his buffs. His own Stand Your Ground, giving him 70 melee defense. He has not popped Dwarf Gouger. I wonder if it's on cooldown. Deathrunners and Rat Ogres have made it to the back line to shut down these cannon crews at last. That'll be a big bounce power trade for the Skaven. Trying to keep it a minute. And Cazador is currently getting his ass handed to him by Queek. Queek is very, very good at fighting armored infantry characters, which dwarves are, unless you're playing Thoric. The one matchup where Queek is actually good, and a character was released that completely counteracts what he wants to do. Anyway, the Dwarf Lord's getting his ass kicked. He is going to rout now, and I doubt he'll be coming back. Queek might even get to finish him. Nope, the Lord shatters, and then Queek gets surrounded by randos. So it looks like he will escape. And that'll save the dwarf leadership. If the dwarves that actually lost their king, their leadership would spike downwards. Deathrunner's still in the backfield, swamping these cannons, finishing them off once and for all. Rat Ogre's doing the same over here. So both cannons are offline. Dwarf Lord is dead. The front line ain't looking so hot for the dwarves, but they still have one very healthy Thunderer, an extremely healthy Hammerer with a Thane, and then some regular Thunderers firing downhill into these Storm Vermin. It still is a tough task for Queek, unfortunately. Don't think he can really do it. But boy's trying. Deathrunner's finishing off the cannons. Rat Ogres are going to try and rejoin the battle. Lumbering along. Going to dive into these Quarrelers who don't even see it coming. Ba-bam, ba-boom. But now Thunderers do see it coming. And they are just going to mow down the poor Rat Ogres. Oh, Rat Ogres actually got into melee combat without taking too much damage. But their leadership is faltering. And they'll get going, especially with these elite Hammerers coming up. Now the Hammerers can walk over, say hi to Queek. In the distance, we still have a bunch more dwarves, so Queek would have to super hard carry this, and I just don't see it happening. Deathrunner's rejoining Storm Vermin, fighting these Quarrelers. And the Skaven will probably win this little infantry fight over here, but I don't know what they're going to do about the dwarves. Alright, last stand of the Skaven. Queek rallies with his Storm Vermin. Silver Horn of Vengeance gives Hammerers 36 charge bonus, which they use on the Storm Vermin to great effect. Chunking those guys down. Already taken about 500 HP off them since the charge. The Deathrunners now trying to get involved in the fight, so is Queek. He is gunning it for the Thane, but will it even be enough time as the balance of power is tipping into army losses? There they go. Queek will get running. And that is that. So how did the battle actually go? Queek did lose. He lost this battle. So essentially the start was close to the same. He was running with his whole army. And one of the cannonballs hit him in the chest and sent him flying and knocked him briefly unconscious. So then the fight proceeded without him. And without him on the front line, his Storm Vermin were confused. So they looked around in panic, like, where's Queek? We're supposed to be with him. Oh god, if he's fighting without us, he's going to be so mad. So the Storm Vermin didn't charge in. So Skaven Slaves and Clan Rats got killed before the Storm Vermin even got there. Rat Ogres charged in on their own after that and got put down pretty badly. A different character in the book took the Deathrunners and snuck them over to the cannons, shut both cannons down, and then proceeded to charge into some of the Thunderers and Quarrelers with them. So that part, Rainy Frog did pretty darn well, according to the books. And then Queek showed up after he woke up from his cannonball, but with most of his front line already gone, and his Rat Ogres leaving, it was just Queek, and he couldn't solo carry, and he ran away. So we actually got to see pretty close to that. Now, there were Jezzails, I mentioned them. They kind of shot some Quarreler or something until the cannons turned on them and shot them to pieces. And in our game 2 where I brought I had Rainy bring the Jezzails, They didn't get enough DPS off before the cannons turned on them and pushed them off, and then the game actually wasn't close at all. So this one was a bit better. Oh, also, Queek did not solo out Cazador. He soloed out the Thane. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that one to happen in the heat of battle. I sent my Lord at him instead of my Thane, and the Lord got murdered. So, yeah. It was the Thane that Queek completely bodied, not Cazador. So, GG's. Hopefully it was fun. Roar! Subscribe, yes, yes.